For those of you watching, I have a plastic mouth. And so this is kind of the inside of the mouth. So everybody learns differently. And I think it's helpful to have a bigger image. Also, it's better to like not show people the inside of my mouth. So I think that
Hey, my friends, how are you doing? I hope everything is going well with you. With me, everything is fantastic. If you don't know me, I'm Fred Silva, and this is SilvaCast, the podcast made by an English learner to other English learners to help you to speak English with confidence and no more fear. And today we have a special guest here, and we have a special topic for today. That's pronunciation. And my guest is Christina Hilton. She's from America, from the US, and she will help us to understand a few things about pronunciation that maybe you don't know, and she will help us to understand the secret about pronunciation, and I am sure that this will help you to improve your pronunciation too. But first of all, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please click the button below and subscribe to the channel, and also hit the like button and help us to show for more people these episodes, this podcast, because I am sure that this will help a lot of people to improve their English. So let's do it and let's get started. Hey, Christina, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for accepting the invitation. I'm so happy that you are here with me today. And please tell us, who is Christina? What do you do? Where you live and everything?
Okay, well, there's a lot there. So first, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
And yeah, a little bit about me. Well, I'm Christina, and right now I'm living in the United States. I'm living in North Carolina. Nothing really special here, but I just moved here. And I'm originally from Florida, though, so that's where I'm originally from. I have lived in Japan. I lived in Japan for a year until last year. I just moved, actually. And then before that, I also lived in Germany, and I like to travel around a lot. I'm always moving, coming and going. So that's my travel life. And what else? For work, I'm the head of content for Hadar Shemesh, which is really fun. So I do a lot of content development, like podcasts and Hadar's YouTube channel, and also the content that we have inside of our digital courses. That is something that I help to manage. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I do.
Well, and if you don't know Hadar, which I think is like impossible if you are a student, I think it's impossible to don't know her. But we will tell you a little bit more about Hadar, about Christina's work and everything, because today's the main purpose here is to talk about pronunciation, about content in English on the internet, because this is part of your job. So I will ask you questions about this type of things, and a little bit about your experience as a pronunciation coach and as producing content on the internet. So first of all, when did you decide to start to work as a pronunciation coach, and how does this happen to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm happy you asked that, because I completely left that out, which is like, the biggest part of my job, and why I'm here is because I teach pronunciation. So my journey as a pronunciation coach started a couple of years ago, and it came from my own experience. So like I mentioned, I lived in Germany. When I was 18, I moved to Germany, and I didn't speak the language. I went there not even knowing what a verb tense was or gender in a language. Like, I had no idea. And I was thrown into a situation. I was living with a family. I was a nanny when I was there. And so I was caring for two kids, and they didn't speak any English. So I had to learn really fast. And it was so hard because it's already hard to communicate to a 5-year-old in their native language, but when you don't have the language to communicate with them, it's really, really hard. So I had to learn, but I learned really quickly. But something that I learned in that time while I was there is that, I learned a lot of grammar in class. I learned a lot of vocabulary, and all of these things that I was learning. But when I was speaking to people, I had these situations where people want to understand what I said. And it was very specific words that I said. And I started to find a pattern like, oh, wait, there's something about this sound that I can't say. Why can't they understand me? And like, what is it about this? Because to me, I think I'm pronouncing it properly. And it wasn't until later that I realized that it was for the pronunciation. That was what was the issue. They didn't understand my pronunciation. So I decided to study linguistics a few years later because I wanted to learn more languages and learn about languages, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then I started learning about phonetics and phonology, which is the study of sounds. And I realized, oh, the reason people don't understand me in German was because I was using sounds from English, my native language, and they didn't exist in German. So people were not used to hearing those sounds in German, just like was a complete, didn't connect at all. So that was a moment where it was like, oh, that's interesting. But I didn't know like I could teach that wasn't a possibility. So I remember then a couple semesters went by, and one day I was sitting in class and my linguistics professor was just going on rambling about this random story where he was working with a teacher's assistant, and this teacher's assistant was saying, oh, whenever I speak to my students, they don't understand what I say. And I always say this one word and they don't understand what I'm saying. And the teacher told him, yeah, it's because you're pronouncing the T in the middle of your mouth like da. And in American English, we pronounce it like t. So just move your tongue from the middle of your mouth to the front of your mouth, and it will probably be easier for people to understand you. And when he told the teaching assistant that, the teacher's assistant was like, oh my God, nobody ever told me that. That makes so much sense. And like, why did I never learn that? And anyway, as my teacher was telling this story, I'm sitting there in class listening to this story. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach people how to pronounce sounds that they don't have in their native language so that they can communicate more clearly. So that is my story of like my moment when I was like, oh, this is what I want to do with my life, which, yeah.
Wow, this is amazing because you did something that I think every student does at the beginning of the journey. We try to reproduce the sounds in English, but using our mother tongue, like, because we don't know exactly the sounds in English. So, for example, in Portuguese, that's my mother language, we don't have the TH sound. The most close we have is the F sound, like thank you. Thank you, and I talk like that. Thank you, not thank you. It's a little bit, the difference is not big, it's very tiny, but make a lot of difference. So I noticed that you had the same problems we as students have the same thing. And then you decide to study this. So I have another question for you in this aspect. How can we produce the right sounds in English? What do you need to use like to produce it? Is our mouth, is our throat, what we can use to get the sound more close to a native?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's exactly what you said. We always, no one is intentionally mispronouncing a sound. You think like this is natural. We're going to match it to whatever we have the closest in our language. Like we'll just hear the sound and we think, okay, this is what I have in my language. I'm going to use it. And so unless you know that there's a different sound, it's going to be impossible for you to repeat it usually because you don't hear the difference unless someone teaches you the difference. So the first step is building this perception or this knowledge that, hey, there are sounds that exist in English that don't exist in my language. What are those sounds? How can I compare them? Right? So that's the first thing. You have to be able to understand, I don't have TH in my language, so I have to learn how to pronounce TH. And the thing I love about pronunciation is because it's absolutely trainable. It's absolutely a possibility to do, like to pronounce, because it's physical. It's like, okay, we speak
Technical.
with, yeah, it is. And it's like, okay, we speak with muscles, and everybody, I have a tongue and lips and, and teeth. And that's what I need, right? So I already have everything I need. I just have to know how to use this in a different way. So it's like building or gaining a new tool to speak. So it's technical. And so I say, okay, I have the F in my language. How do I make the F with my teeth on my bottom lip? How do I make the TH? I just stick my tongue out between my teeth. So I'm just making a very small adjustment. And then it's like you unlock a new sound and you unlock something new. And that makes you even closer to getting the clarity that you want and sounding the way that you want.
Yeah, this is interesting because you said that it's just you just need to fix something in your pronunciation, and the sound is going to be better. I noticed that after I start new sound, I start to receive compliments from natives that, wow, you're pronouncing very well this word. And I got like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's working. It's working.
That's
Because
great.
before I was not aware about the right sound, I know how to produce the sound similar, but not the right sound. I'm not speaking about the T8. The T8, I already know it.
Mhm.
I get better, of course, but another sound that I was not producing very well, for example, the flat T or things like that, that is really common in American English. So I start
Yeah.
to notice that, yeah, the first thing is to be aware about the sounds. I don't know how I can pronounce. Now I know it. So let's train my tongue, my mouth, my muscles
Exactly.
to do it. And this is a great exercise because we start to notice that it's working, and people start to notice that, yeah, it's getting better. So it's good to see that happening,
Yeah.
because as you mentioned, it's technical. You need to know how to do it, and then you need to practice as much as you
Yeah.
can. And as Hadar always says, is a habit. Pronunciation is
Yes.
a habit. You need to change your habits, and then you start to pronounce the words and the phrases better, because it's natural. With more time, with more practice, it's going to be
Yeah.
natural for everybody.
Yeah. And I think if I could add one thing about that, I would say that a lot of people think, okay, just because I know how to pronounce it, that means I will pronounce it all the time. And that's not how it works, because I think about it like posture. I have very bad posture. And so why? Because like 95% of the time I'm sitting with my muscles, like my shoulders are rolled forward. I'm sitting with bad posture. If even though I do know I tried to correct my posture, I try to sit up straight, I'm not doing that all the time. So I have to train my muscles many, many times to get the posture that I want. It's not going to be that I do a back workout one day and then boom, I'm done, right? It's an ongoing process. And I think that it's really important to understand that the pronunciation is mouth muscles, and you can't expect yourself to completely learn a new sound or replace a new sound when you've been using a different sound all of your life until now. It's totally unrealistic to think, oh, I can, immediately replace it. It's going to take time and practice and habits.
Yeah, and sometimes I see in my own journey and with other students too, that it's a little bit frustrating when we start to train and the sound's not coming. You try and it's not working very well. It's a little bit frustrating, but when as much we training and we start to get better, it's really, really good when we see the sound being pronounced very, very well. Like, oh, it's good, because the bad thing for me is when I'm talking to a native or other person, and the person starts to see like this, trying to understand what I'm saying. So this is so bad, and I think
face.
a lot of students, yeah, because you look at the face of the other person and you see, oh,
yeah,
he is not understanding exactly what I'm saying.
yes.
And sometimes it's just because of the pronunciation, not because of your or thoughts or of your English, but some words could be a little similar in English, so and could be confused, right?
Yep.
So
Exactly.
for me, it's so bad when I look at the person and she or he is like try to understand what I'm saying, and I got like, oh, maybe it's not working.
And you're like, what is it? What did I say? Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know exactly where is the point that we mispronounced.
Yeah. I had an experience when I had lived in Germany for a year, and then I went back there for a little bit longer to study. And at that point, I was very fluent. I had my C1 certificate. My whole life was in German, and I had good pronunciation. And I went to ask someone where this restaurant was. And keep in mind, the town that we were in was like super small. So many, like maybe 10 restaurants in the entire town, right? So it's not like I was asking for something and they didn't know where it was. And I was asking, hey, do you know where this restaurant is? And I had to repeat myself like 5 times. And again, it like really kills your confidence when you're like, what am I saying wrong that they don't understand? But I mean, in those moments, it's like, okay, you can just laugh about it and say, okay, I have to work on that,
Yeah, the first time I saw you in the program, I thought you were from Germany, not from America. I don't know why. Just I don't know. Is your hair, your color of skin? I don't know. I just thought you were from Germany, and now you are saying that you speak Germany. So it's interesting, and I think it's a really hard language to learn. I have never tried, but I think it's not easy to.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's challenging, but I think also there's so much. It kind of goes to show also how people want to learn a language. Like there's so much focus on grammar, and the grammar is really hard, but it's like, okay, because there are, like, for example, 4 different ways to say the word the, right? So it's not like there's like masculine and feminine, and then the middle gender, like the non-gendered,
Neutral?
and then there's plural. Yes, neutral. Thank you. Lost my word. And then there's the plural form, right? So there are a lot of ways, and so many people, they get caught up. They get so focused on that, like the grammar, and it's like, okay, yes, but if I say the wrong word, like if I say masculine instead of feminine, people will still understand me. So, what is more important, that I can pronounce all the vowels and people understand me? Both are important, but I think a lot of times people put so much focus on the proper grammar, that in all languages, not just German, but, so much focus on that. And that's, in my opinion, not the goal of language, is perfect grammar.
Yeah, this is a thing that I noticed when I was starting to learn Spanish, and then I started to learn English. I didn't focus on grammar at all, because I noticed that I will be stuck, because grammar is really hard to learn. Even in my mother language, I don't know all the rules of Portuguese grammar. I don't know even a half of that, but I still can speak the language. So I noticed that, and I start to learn the language without any grammar. Of course, try to speak in a good way, but I was not focused on that. And this helped me to improve so much fast. And then after a while, I decided to study grammar and pronunciation, for example. At the beginning, I was not focused on that too. And I came to a point that I noticed that I really need pronunciation now, because I'm struggling with something here. And I think it's the next step. So I decided to join to Hadar's program because of that, because I was stuck in this level. I want to improve, and I was already doing this podcast, and I was like, oh, maybe it's the time to work in my pronunciation, because I will speak with natives, not just English teachers, but people that are not English teachers, and they need to understand me very well. So I decided to join to the program because of that, because I noticed that now it's time to do it. Because if I focus in grammar or pronunciation at the beginning, I think it's my perception. that I won't be in the level I am right now, because it's not easy to learn a new language. You need to focus in your confidence. You need to focus in learn the language, vocabulary, a lot of things, and pronunciation and grammar are huge. Are a lot of things about this. So I don't want to be overwhelmed. So I decide to focus in one thing at the beginning, and then I start to change my focus. And this helped me to improve my English. And I think I'm trying to do that.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, I think everyone has a different way or time when they come to pronunciation. I think, if I had learned some basic pronunciation, it would have saved me so much time, later, right? Oh, if only I had learned a few things when I started, this would have made things a lot easier. But, I also didn't start learning pronunciation until after I spoke Spanish and German. So, it was also, for me, I learned it a little bit later. But yeah, I think that it depends. Everyone has their own journey when it comes to when they begin pronunciation and decide to focus on it, if they do.
Yeah. And how to learn a new language helps you to become a better teacher? Because I know that if you just speak one language and you teach English, maybe you don't have the experience that students have,
Yeah,
but how does influence your teaching?
Yeah. Well, I have I'm a really big advocate for, just because you speak a language doesn't not mean you should teach it, right? And like you said, I don't know all the grammar rules of Portuguese, right? If you want to speak a language, just because you speak it, you grew up speaking it, that does not make you a good teacher. And I would even say it makes you sometimes a worse teacher, because you don't understand how you even learned the language, right? It was just natural. So, you don't have the right strategies to learn the second language, or you don't understand the struggle. So I can definitely tell you, I would be a really bad teacher if I didn't understand, or if I didn't learn other languages, because I can't empathize with my students. I don't understand the struggle of speaking a different language. I wouldn't understand the struggle of living in a different country and trying to communicate and having issues, right? Those are really real issues that people have and that people face. And I think that is so important in learning. And also just to know how your brain works. How do you learn a language best? I think that it's really easy to get caught up in the way that we think language should be taught and not the way that someone is experiencing it. And I can say from my own experience that, so first I learned German and then I learned Spanish. And I was taking Spanish classes. And that was after I was already teaching English at that point. But I guess I was kind of intermediate student at that time, kind of being in that position where I'm the student, it really gave me a new perspective of, I do not understand everything, so this is really, really hard. So sometimes, I think I was a little too hard on my students, because I was like, oh, they can do this, no problem. And it gives you a lot more understanding because you have been in that experience. You have struggled, what it's like to really struggle with learning a different language. So I think that really, and I also would say that if you have studied with a native speaker, just because they're a native speaker, maybe they're good for conversation, but I would never say that you should take what they have to say as completely true, because you really need to study the language. You need to know how to teach. You need to understand the rules of the language, because you don't just know that intuitively. It's something you have to study. So that's what I firmly believe.
Yeah, I think that is an expression for that. It's I can't remember. It's put yourself in their shoes or something like that.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, to put yourself in their shoes. Totally.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of English teachers, and I noticed that the best teachers, they spoke at least one more language, not just English. because they understand exactly what the students face, what are the challenges and everything. So I totally agree with you. I think if you are a teacher and you speak another language, so much better because you understand exactly the challenge your students could have. So yeah, I totally agree. And let me ask you this question, Christina, about the sounds in English. You have taught a lot of students all over the world, and I know you know this answer. What's the sound that's more challenging for students? Like the first one that a lot of people struggle with.
So if we're going to get a little nerdy, I will, because I'm a linguistic nerd. The TH sound is one of the one of the rarest sounds in language. Like it doesn't exist in a lot of languages. So if we're talking about like popularity, the TH sound is going to be the sound that most people struggle with because they don't have it. Most languages don't have it. There are some languages that have it, but that's one of the sounds that is that most people struggle with. However, the TH is not the most important for being clear, because there are many dialects of native English speakers that don't say the TH sound. They also say, sometimes they will say the TH with an F. Like there are quite a few dialects in the United States that do that. And also British English, some dialects of British English, which is really interesting. So that's okay. I'm getting off topic. But
no problem,
I would say the hardest sound is the R. The R sound is hard. It definitely is also the strong R, the R sound. A lot of languages have like a R sound.
Spanish, for example.
Yeah. But in English, or R, and there are not a lot of languages that have a R sound.
You know what is funny in my case? The TH at the beginning was not easy, but I have learned how to do it. And I noticed that's not that difficult. The R for me, even I don't have the same R in Portuguese. We don't have the same R we have in American English. It was good to learn. It was not a big of a deal. But the dark L, for example, wow.
Yeah.
Still now I have problem with the dark L, the dark L, because I don't know, you need to touch your tongue at the upper palate. Sometimes it's not easy because I talk a little fast sometimes, so I have time to do it. So the sound sometimes
who has time for dark L?
yeah. But I think a lot of students have this problem with the T8 and the R. I have been seeing this with a lot of people, and a few days ago I was talking to a girl from Ukraine. And it was so hard trying to help her to pronounce the T8 properly. I don't know why, but it was really hard because she changed the sound in another way that was not even possible to do for me, you know? So I was not understanding why she was not producing the sound. But I think it's just because they don't have the sound, and you need to train your muscles, you need to train your tongue to be in the right position. And it's like you mentioned. So it could be tricky sometimes. And I think a lot of students have this problem, but please let us know how to produce this sound properly. The T8, for example, and the R, is there a good technique to use it? How can I produce it?
Okay, yeah. So the TH and R are also and if we go back to our topic about the pronunciation being muscles, they are some of the most complex and difficult sounds to make in the mouth with the muscles. So even kids, so English speaking kids, these are the last sounds that they acquire when they're growing up. So it's like around 5 or 6 years old, kids will get this sound. And even still, there are a lot of kids that go to speech therapy because they still, maybe they are older than that and they still struggle with pronouncing the R and the TH and some other sounds as well. But it is just interesting to note that it's not only hard for people that don't speak English, these are some of the most complicated sounds in English, and even native speakers struggle with them too because they're really complex. So the TH, and again, it depends on probably when you were talking to the woman from Ukraine, she was maybe saying it with an S sound because for her, that was what it sounds like, so it's behind the teeth. So I think it will depend on what your native language is. So, but the TH we do with the tongue through the teeth. And never mind. I have my plastic mouth. I just got it. But anyway, I won't show it. I have a diagram. But anyway, so you put your tongue through the teeth, and I like to think of it like you are kind of making a blowing sound, like you want to blow out candles, but you have your tongue in between your teeth. So there has to be air flowing through the mouth. And you can maybe think of it like a snake, but with the teeth through, or with the tongue through the teeth, or a snake that has a lisp or something. That's the TH. And it feels a little bit weird for a lot of people because they don't usually stick their tongue out through the teeth. So it feels uncomfortable because it's like, oh no, that feels really, really weird. But I always say to my students that if a sound feels weird, you're doing it right because you're doing it differently. So you want something to feel different or even weird because it's a sign that you're working different muscles that you don't have.
I have a tip for you guys that are watching us right now to produce this sound properly. Please don't do that close to your family because they can. I have a story about this. When I was just starting to training this sound, I was at the kitchen at the computer, and I was repeating the sound and trying to say thank you, things like that. And my wife just approached me, and she started to laugh because the sound is really weird for us in Portuguese. We don't have this sound. So she started to laugh, and I told her, "Get away! Let me train." Because I got like shy because
yes.
It's really weird. So sometimes if you want to train, please do it, but alone, because people won't see this, and it's a better way to train it.
It's a great tip, and I was doing the same thing. I usually practiced my R because the R in German is usually made in the back of the throat, which is hard for me because that doesn't exist that's not a natural sound for me. So I would practice in the car when I was alone, and I would just be making the weirdest possible sounds alone in the car because I can't do it anywhere else. Someone's going to laugh at me. So it's a good tip. So I don't think I can teach the R without showing it. So I have a demonstration. So give me just 1 second. I will grab it.
Okay, no problem. And by the way, the R sound for me, it's really beautiful. I like this sound. It's
nice.
When I was able to produce this sound, I was like proud of me because it sounds very beautiful when you say.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I think it's really complicated. I think it's kind of pretty, but some people might think it's a little bit ugly. But it's really? All here. I guess so. Okay, so for those of you watching, I have a plastic mouth. And so this is kind of the inside of the mouth. So everybody learns differently. And I think it's helpful to have a bigger image. Also, it's better to not show people the inside of my mouth. So I think that...
do you have a name for this?
I don't. Some people keep telling me I need to name it, but I don't.
Yeah, it's going to be fun if you have a name for it.
Yeah, his teeth are a lot wider than mine, so looks a lot nicer. But I think it's important to first note that when you say a lot of languages have an R that touches the top of the mouth. So the tip of the tongue is touching the top of the mouth like a da sound or a r, right? That would be where it's happening. Some languages like German or Hebrew or French, they have the tongue is going to the back of the throat, and it's like a sound. I can't really do it, back of the throat. But in English, it's pretty different. So the first thing is that the tongue, it gets really fat. So it kind of gets really fat, and it's touching, can't really show it here, but it's touching the sides of the back teeth. So it's being pulled back, and it's touching here, the sides of the back teeth. So the sides of the tongue are touching the sides of the back of the teeth. And then we want to round our lips while we do that. So like we're sucking a straw, and then we say the sound r. And then also the tip of the tongue is going to curl up just a little bit, but it's not going to touch anything. So the tip of the tongue isn't touching anything, which is a bit different than a lot of other languages. So really like the sides of the tongue are doing the work. And that's pretty much the R, but it's easier said than done. So it's very complicated to explain sometimes.
There is just one type of R in American English, or do we have like different types, like the L, for example?
Yeah, so we have most linguists, and the way that we teach pronunciation and the way I teach it is that we have 2 to 3 different types of R. So we have what's called the strong R, and it's all pronounced in the same way, but they have like different variations. So like we have strong R, and that's usually at the beginning of words like red or ready. And then we also have soft R, which is at the end of words in a word like car or for. And the soft R does tend to get dropped in a lot of dialects, like British English. In American English, we would say car with a nice strong R. In British English, it's going to be ka. So they don't say the R in the same way. So the soft R gets dropped.
Yeah, they say the R like a Brazilian do also. Our R is not so strong in Portuguese as is in Spanish. So we have this soft R, and maybe this is the reason some people struggle with Brazilian people struggle with the R, the strong R, because we don't have.
Yeah.
In some accents we have, but it's not so. More especially in the South.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. That some dialects of accents in Brazilian Portuguese do have some of the R, or like a very similar R to English. So yeah, that's it. And then we also have the stir R. We call it the stir R, which is the sound. So it's in a word like stir and fur and word. So the words like world and squirrel and girl all have this sound, and it's made the same way, like my tongue is still at the top, but I open my lips a little bit more to let the sound come out. So those are the 3 types of R, but the tongue is doing the same thing in all of the variations.
Yeah, and depending on the combination of the letters, sometimes it's more difficult to pronounce, like the combination with R and L, like in world, like in girl. Oh my goodness.
That was good. That sounded great.
Oh, thank you. I have been training because, I say this word a lot, world, in the podcast. I say this at least 10 times each episode. And I was like, when I was watching myself, I was like, oh, this is not right. I am not pronouncing it very well. So I need training. And it's not easy at all I think most English students have the same problem with the R and L together, because I don't know. I think it's hard to do this hard sound R and then touch the upper
another
palate.
sound.
No, it's not easy at all.
Very tricky.
Any tip for doing that properly?
Well, I would say that there are a few reasons why it's complicated. Another one is that it's a consonant cluster. And so for some languages, there are consonants that don't belong together. And so English might have consonants that belong together, like R and L, that you don't have in your native language. Like you maybe need to break it with a vowel in between. So that is like one thing that's going to be hard. And then on top of that, it's hard to pronounce the R, and the L can also be really tricky. So when I think that what I would say about that particular transition is to take the sounds together and do them really slowly, earl, and really try to drill it without adding any sound in between, and really slow it down and see, what is my mouth doing? What is my tongue doing? What's happening? And doing it slow and then slowly speeding it up. That's what I usually recommend. But I mean, you're the one that can pronounce it really well now. So I think that you you could probably advise someone on how to improve.
Yeah, one thing that I can say is take time, because sometimes we try to train these sounds very fast because we want to sound like a native. And this is really tricky, because if we don't take time to produce the right combination, put our tongue at the right place and make the sound properly. If you don't take time to do that, sometimes the sound, it doesn't go right, just because you don't have time to produce it. So this is my tip: take time. Don't be like me, because I try to be a little bit accelerated, and this is not helped to improve. But I'm like, slow down. Right now I'm like, okay, relax, just speak more slowly. Open your mouth and speak the word with calm, not rush.
Yeah.
Don't be rushed.
Yeah. And I think that that's actually a good point for not only pronunciation, but I think that there is this misconception people have that if I want to speak well, I should speak fast. So the faster I speak, the more people will understand me. And it's really, and I say that because I thought that as well. Like, oh, I can hide my mistakes if I speak fast, right? They won't notice it. But it's not helping you, and it's not helping the person listening to you. So I would say that, taking your time and slowing it down is going to be the best thing that you can do. Even when you're speaking, and of course also when you're practicing. It's going to take time, and it's a muscle, and it's going to take a lot of practice to be able to pronounce a sound that you're working on.
Yeah, and you can make it faster when you start to produce the right sound. You can start to produce it faster, and then everything is going to be fine. So take times. It takes times. I have a question for you, Christina, that I never asked to any native English speaker, and I'm so curious about that. Is what do you guys pay attention when you are talking to a non-native English speaker? What do you guys pay attention in the conversation? It's what is the main thing that you guys pay attention on that?
Well, I think that, it's the same for everyone. If you're hearing someone speak Portuguese as a non-native speaker, probably you will have the exact same experience. So, and I would say it would be hard to fully answer. I think the first thing that anyone notices is that someone is using different sounds in their language. And usually some people, it's maybe not the best, but usually it is, native speakers like hearing someone else's accent. They're like, oh, this is really different than what I'm used to hearing. I enjoy it. So it's really common, for people to say, oh, I love your accent. Where are you from? Now, I think some people are like, come on, and especially with English, because English is an international language. So many people speak English all around the world. So there's also way more non-native English speakers than native speakers. So native English speakers are the minority. But it is, to hear someone's accent and hear different sounds that they're saying is really beautiful, I think, to be able to hear a different rhythm, because someone is taking their history, their culture, their language, their personality, and they're bringing it into English. And the way that they say something, or that's just what happens when we speak a language as a second language. So I think that that's what people pay attention to, is really the sounds and the rhythm of someone's language that they are putting in, because for us it's new, right? We're programmed to be able to detect when something is different than what we know, right? So it's really kind of captivating in a way when someone speaks with an accent, or
you see, guys, they don't look at your mistakes. They don't look at your communication. They look at your accent. And sometimes they think it's really cute, it's really beautiful. So don't be afraid to speak English. I ask this because a lot of people are afraid to speak with a native because of that, because they think, oh, if I'm talking to a native, they will look at my mistakes. They will look at what I'm doing wrong. But that's not true, because people want to communicate with you, and if you are clear, of course you can make mistakes. Of course, this is part of the process, but this is not the main thing you guys are looking at. And I want to ask you this, because I see a lot of people with this struggle with this, so they are afraid, because they think the Americans or British people will look at their mistakes, and this is not necessarily true, right?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it's rare. I mean, I don't want to say that it never happens, because, it definitely does. There are mean people in the world. But in general, I think a lot of people hear someone that speaks differently than them and speaks a different language and says, wow, that's really impressive, because so many, I can say, Americans or people from the United States don't speak another language. So to us, it's really impressive to hear someone speak more than one language, because, for us, it's like very, there not many people do it. So it's always usually we're impressed by someone's ability and their conversation.
Yeah, people that watch us, probably they speak 3 or 4 languages here. I know a lot of people that speak even 5 languages, and this is impressive. And this is good. Thank you for answering that question, Christina, because I never asked that before for anybody, but I was curious to know what do you guys think about this, because it helps other people to notice that no, you don't need to be worried about this. So don't worry.
And again, like, if you are worried about it, and if someone were to comment and say, oh, you said it that way, at the end of the day, you speak another language and they don't. So they don't really have any space to comment. Like, okay, yeah, of course they speak English well. It's the only thing they do all day. They've never, they don't know what it's like to speak another language. So that's what I say.
Yeah, good answer. Christina, I want you to speak a little bit about your job with Hadar as a head of content in her channel, because Hadar's content are incredible. I'm saying this because it blew my mind when I see the videos, and when I see the posts on Instagram and everything. It's very well done. It's so helpful. So I want to know from you, how do you work with this? How do you choose the topics? What do you do? First of all, what do you do in with Hadar's content? What is your job doing this content creating and everything? So please tell us a little bit about this.
Great question. So I can actually share that first I started, Hadar used to have a program for English teachers. She doesn't have it anymore, but she used to have a program for English teachers, and it taught English teachers how to teach pronunciation. And that's how I got to know Hadar. And I had the same, so I was a student first in her community, and I felt the same way as you when I entered into that community and I saw the lessons and the videos. It's like, wow, this is incredible. And, for those of you listening that, might not know Hadar, I will say that she's a non-native pronunciation coach and fluency coach. And she has a YouTube channel and podcast, and also a couple of courses. But anyway, and it is, so Hadar and the company really puts a big focus on content and creating good quality content, because our mission is really that anyone can learn with us, and we want it to be accessible. So you don't need to be inside of a course to be able to learn English. That's so our biggest mission is to create free things And so that people can learn and practice with Hadar on YouTube, or we have a free Facebook community. And that's, that's really important. And I would say that really the focus of the company is on content, creating really great content for everybody. And actually, just today, I have a content meeting where we discuss ideas. So it's fresh on my mind. So yeah, what I do is I help to manage and lead the discussion about, okay, what can we put out there? What's going to help people? And a lot of the inspiration comes from our students or comments on YouTube or, patterns, people that message Hadar privately and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or can you teach me how to pronounce this word? Right. So that's where a lot of inspiration comes from. So we meet together, we have a small content team, and we meet together and we say, okay, what are we seeing? What do we want to talk about? Or one of us will get an idea and be like, I have to talk about this. Like, let's do it. And then after that, we work together on putting notes together, and then, having the recording set up to make sure that Hadar has what she needs. And, she also develops the content herself. And yeah, that's kind of what it looks like when we're coming up with ideas for videos, like for YouTube, for example. But really, we try to do content that we feel is a current struggle for students. It's like, what do people need to hear or want to hear? What's something that someone's going to struggle with, that when they hear this, they will say, oh, that's what I needed to hear. Oh, I feel better now, or, okay, I needed to learn that. That's kind of the focus when it comes to videos. Yeah. And I'm trying to think what else as far as content too.
So when we see a video in her channel, then now I know that a lot of minds were working on it before the video will be recorded and released on YouTube, for example. And this is interesting because the quality of the Hadar's content are incredible. I can see this because I'm a content like a content producer as well, but I consume content on the internet all the time, especially in English. So, and I can see when I can say that when I see a good content, it caught my attention. For example, I've heard about ChatGPT for the first time in Hadar's video. And I'm from the technology. My background is technology, and I didn't heard about this before. When I saw that video, a complete video about the topic, I was like, it blew my mind. And I think it's the best content about ChatGPT that I already watched on the internet. Not just about English, but about other topics as well. So this is incredible because I don't know how is the process that you guys do, but it's working because the content is remarkable. My other question is, what's the most important thing to create remarkable content on the internet like you guys are doing?
Wow, that's a really great question. That's a great question.
I say to my guests here that I like to make difficult questions, like hard questions to answer. So sometimes no,
it's not hard. That. I think it's really profound. I mean, I like that. Good. Really well thought of. Well, I can say that first, Hadar is she's really one of the main content creators. So everything that is there, like a lot of minds have brainstormed it together, but she's one of the core content creators still. So, I help manage and I think that when you have a team, it allows you if you're a creator, as a content creator, which more and more people are becoming, when you have a team, that allows you to say, hey, let's make a plan, let's book out time and let's create a schedule. And then it allows you as the content creator that Hadar is, and you as well, to really do what you do best, which is creating content. And Hadar is really I'm totally biased, but one of the best content creators I know. Like, she just makes good content. And about ChatGPT, it was, we started reading about it, and Hadar came up with it, and she's like, hey, this is going to be really big and it's going to help people so much. So let's do, we had to make a really big switch, and we were like, hey, let's get this out there as fast as possible. And we spent a lot of time on it. So I think that to create remarkable content, it's good to have different opinions, because when you're just one person, you can get biased, or you can think that something is okay, and then somebody else comes behind and is saying, let's see how we can make this better. So having different opinions and being open to different opinions is important. Having someone that questions your work is important, not someone that just says, oh, looks great, but sometimes, even saying like, what were you thinking here? This doesn't really make sense. Like, how can we say this in a way that makes more sense to the viewer? And so we have a lot of different people review and add thoughts and add opinions. And so it goes through, a process. And I think the most important thing is also having a team, having people that have different strengths, having someone that is, we have a designer that we work with. So, our content is great, but how can we make it look even better on a page, right? So that's also important. So leaning on people that have different strengths, and because one piece of content, as you know, it's a lot of work, right? So you need an editor, and, you need a video editor and an audio editor and someone to do the captions, right? So it's definitely not a one-person show. It's a lot of work. So to create remarkable content, I think you need, when you can, if you only are a solopreneur, maybe not yet, but I think that it's really helpful to get different opinions from people, even just to ask your friend, hey, would you read this? I ask my husband sometimes. I write something because I do a lot of writing, and I'm like, does this make sense? And he doesn't know anything of what I do, so he can have this opinion and say, no, that I have no idea what you're talking about. So then it's like, okay, I need to rethink this.
And this is an honest perception, so you can trust on
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think another thing is I would say we are a bit of perfectionists. So it's always like, let's do this to the absolute best of our ability. And how can we make this better? How can we, it's not just like, it's okay. Like, no, how can we really make this the best it can be? Yeah. And I think that when you're in an environment, which on the team, it is very much that environment, you feel inspired and you feel motivated by other people who are also having that mindset. Like, how can we make this even better? Like, this is good, but could it be better? If yes, how do we get there? And with that, you get pretty remarkable content.
Yeah. And guys, when you see a video like this, what we're talking now, please look at that and know that a lot of work was put on that. So valuable that video, valuable that content, because a lot of people are working on this to give you the best resource to improve your English or something like that. Because people see, free videos on the internet, like Hadar's video. Sometimes they think, okay, it's a free video, but a lot of work were put on that. Researchers, a lot of people are working on that, and content is really free content on the internet is a good way to learn English, for example, because you have the opportunity to learn something new and you don't need to pay. Of course, if you want to go further in your English learning journey, to have a course is so much better because you are close to Hadar. For example, you can ask questions. You can, for example, in the program we have the sprint session with you, for example, and it's amazing because you have the opportunity to have a feedback in our pronunciation, and this is so good because we are learning, but sometimes we don't know that if we are going to the right place or not. But when you, for example, came with a feedback and, oh, Fred, please just put your tongue right here, make it a little bit soft or a little bit more different, that make a lot of difference for students. So free content is so important, but if you have the chance to go and start in a program, a paid program, it will take you, how can I say, save you time. If you want to go faster, so much better because everything is organized. Can you speak a little bit more about the programs, Christina, just for those that don't know Hadar and don't know what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So kind of like we've been talking about, on YouTube, every Tuesday, Hadar posts a new video, and they are videos about all different things: pronunciation, learning strategy, mindset, and confidence. So that is Hadar's YouTube channel. But then we also have our courses online, and we have New Sound, which Fred is a student in, and we've been talking about. And New Sound is a 3-month course, and it is focused on pronunciation. So we have daily lessons and practice sheets, and it's really designed to teach you all the sounds of English that you don't have in your native language, and how to teach you really how to pronounce those sounds. We also teach prosody and intonation and rhythm and voice, and also like mindset and confidence. So really it has all of the elements that you need to really transform the way you sound and the way you feel and the way you express yourself in English. So that's our course, New Sound, which is 3 months. We also have a monthly membership called Beyond, and Beyond is like a gym for your English. So it's like maintenance, and we
I
have
like the definition.
Yeah, it's good. So it kind of like you have, you can go to the gym and you can go to yoga and you can go to Pilates, and you have all these options. Same thing, like you can go to a shadowing practice group, or you can go to a conversation group. So Beyond is closed right now, but doors will open in the future. And we also, so those are it for our live courses. And we also have a 30-day audio program called My English Mindset, which is 30 days of 10-minute audios to listen and kind of develop or kind of overcome mindset beliefs or thoughts that you might have about your English. And we also have sprints. We have so much more. We have 10-minute videos that our sprints are like packed little videos with pronunciation and vocabulary and grammar, all in like a 1 video a day that you can do and you can practice with every day. So if you don't have any time, you can do a sprint, which is really cool. So those are the things we have. But of course, you can always just keep learning with us for free on YouTube. Every Tuesday, we have a new video. So that's a little bit about the stuff that we have.
And where they can find these resources? What's the website and the YouTube channel?
You can find it at hadarshemesh.com. You'll have everything. You'll learn more about the courses, and Hadar.AccentsWay on YouTube. So Accents Way English with Hadar is the channel, and you can find it there. So I'm just like totally plugging Hadar for.
Oh, no problem. Christina, the last question before we leave. If you could give one piece of advice for an English student that are stuck right now, what you would say?
I would say that it's part of the process, which is annoying to hear. But if you are stuck, it's a good sign, because it means that you're on your journey, right? Like it's a journey, it has ups and downs. And right now you're in a down, but that doesn't mean that you're never going to go up. So I would say if you're stuck, know that it's part of the process, but also try something different. So change your routine, try something new, start watching your favorite TV show or watch a TV show that you enjoy, or find a hobby in English, or just try to start something different, shake things up, and it might get you out of this feeling of being stuck. But know that there's nothing wrong with you, and it's part of it.
And please don't give up, because if you give up, you won't achieve anything. So giving up is the thing that you don't need to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Christina, and if they want to find you, where they can go, is there any social media that's open for people follow you or something?
Not really. I used to, and right now,
why not?
You can't. Long story, but you can find me on Instagram if you want, but I don't post much content. But my Instagram is CF Hilton. You can find me there. But that's just my lifestyle account. You won't find anything super exciting besides me.
Yeah, I think you should have an Instagram account to produce content, because you are a very good teacher. So if you have time to do, please do it one day, because I think this is going to be very helpful for people watch and learn from you too.
Yeah. I'll think about it. I'll if it ever happens, you can come back and update the details below the video, so they can find my new channel.
That's it. I hope so. I hope you can do it. Well, Christina, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for being with us today. I learned so much things today, and I am sure that my audience also will learn a lot of things from you. And thanks again. And if you want to say something, you're free to do it.
Yeah, I would say thank you so much for having me. Really, I enjoyed it. It was such a lovely discussion and conversation. And yeah, I'm just pleased to be here to share what I've learned and am still learning. And like you said earlier, I think to anyone out there, don't give up. I think it's so, English is such an important part of life, and there's something for everyone. So if you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like it's not for you, there's hope, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you so much.
I like that.
For having me.
I like that. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you. And guys, thank you so much for being with us today. I'll see you in the next episode. See you there. Bye-bye.
Bye.